One thing I wanted to go straight into was Mark Tremonti sings Sinatra. I was listening to this. I understand it was for some kind of the LP was kind of for charity of some kind. Is that right? Can you tell me a little bit about this project and that charity?
Yeah. So about 3 years ago, I became obsessed with singing like Frank Sinatra, and I just went deep down the rabbit hole. And I practiced it just like I did when I was a kid, practicing the guitar. I would study, and I over a couple of years, I started feeling good about it, but I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with it. And then my daughter was diagnosed before she was born with Down syndrome. So I had read all kinds of books about Frank Sinatra's life and how he was such a philanthropist, and he had raised over $1 billion for charity. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to record a record of Frank Sinatra songs. And we partnered up with the National Down Syndrome Society to do the record. And we got the approvals from the Sinatra estate to use Frank Sinatra's name and likeness, which was very hard to do because they've only done that for like Michael Bublé and Tony Bennett. So it was really hard to get that done. And then on top of that, we partnered up with Frank Sinatra's touring band, the surviving members of Frank Sinatra's band. So I got to go in the studio with the guys and record 14 tracks. And for the Drinks with Johnny show here, I've got all my Sinatra, my Sinatra Select Jack Daniels.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this is I'm surrounded by Sinatra stuff these days. But no, we've since the record's come out, we've raised $750,000. So we're getting close to that $1 million mark, and
awesome.
Couldn't be happier about it.
Wow, that's such a cool. So it's such a cool cause behind it. I mean, I was just listening to it, didn't even realize that there was a cause behind it. Where can people go, real quick? Just tell them where they could go if they want to listen to and donate to the cause. There, we'll put a little description down here and below. Yeah,
you just go to TremontiSingsSinatra.com. It should be all on there. And on top of that, I started this this thing called Take a Chance for Charity. So for guys like you, I would challenge you or anybody to do something that your fans would have no idea, would not see coming in a million years. Something completely different than rock. Something. It could be good. It could be bad. It could be funny. It could be serious. Whatever it is different. It's raising money for charity under Take a Chance for Charity. And I've got a bunch of friends lined up to do projects as we speak. So hopefully it takes off.
Oh, that's a great idea, and I would love to be a part of it. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head what I would do for for anything there, but yeah, absolutely. Anything for charity, man, I would be 100% on board. Let's get back into the actual recording that, though. As you mentioned, I was going to ask how the strings arrangements, the band was being recorded and stuff. You already mentioned there's some of the remaining guys who are still alive from Sinatra's band. Where did you guys record this at? How was who helped produce and mix this? Because I know getting a live band in together in a room, can have its challenges sometimes. So how were you able to accomplish all that?
Yeah, so we recorded up in Chicago, and there's a couple studios there that are suitable for the big band thing, and the one that we recorded at was right across from the old Caprini Green after they had torn all that down in Chicago. It's a great little studio. You'd never know it was there. We had 17 artists recording, so it was everybody but the saxophones recorded because we couldn't fit everybody. This was during COVID.
Right.
So we had the trumpets, the trombones, the drums, the bass, piano, and vocal going at one time, and then the saxophones had to come in afterwards. But 15 out of 17 guys were original members of Sinatra's band, and then 2 guys were younger guys that kind of filled in. And actually, the bass player on most of the tracks was Julian Smith. Mike Smith is Frank Sinatra's band leader. His son, who played with Lady Gaga on tour, came and cracked the bass, and he's just top notch. And he's one of the guys that when we do shows, like I have a show in next week, I have a show with the guys here in Orlando, and Mike Smith, the band leader, alto sax, flies in. Carrie Dedman, who did a lot of Frank Sinatra's arranging. And in the later years, he plays trumpet. He travels with us. Julian Smith on bass. We have Dan McIntyre, Frank Sinatra's touring guitar player, who was actually my manager's guitar teacher growing up.
Wow.
And that's how we made the introductions with those guys.
Okay, I was going to ask, how did you get? I mean, you're naming all these names and where they came from. Obviously, is very extensive and legendary. There, I was going to ask how this all came to be.
Yeah, he. So when I called my manager and I said, you know what, I want to do something with this Frank Sinatra stuff I've been working on. I want to do this record for charity, so I want to start reaching out to some local musicians, see if I can find some big band guys to team up with. He's like, no, man, we're going to call the original guys. My teacher was Dan McIntyre. So he scheduled a lunch with Dan and Mike Smith, and they sat down there and listened to him. They're like, all right, can your guys sing? And my manager had never heard me sing that style of music. He's like, of course he can. Of course
he just went for it. Yeah, the age old. Yeah, like was it like actors say that they could do all the things just so they get the part right? So.
Oh yeah. So they're like, all right, we're on board. Let's do a couple songs to see if this is going to work out. So I had said, let's do "Luck Be a Lady," and the song is "You." And the band's like, let's hold off the song is "You." Let's do something a little more familiar. So we did "That's Life" and "Luck Be a Lady." So imagine stepping in the studio with Frank Sinatra's guys for the very first time, and the very first song you pick is pretty much led by the singer. I'm not letting the band doesn't start that song. It pretty much starts with "They call you Lady Luck." Wow.
Right.
So I had to be in there setting the rhythm of the song. So Mike Smith draws me into this room full of all these legendary musicians. He's like, all right, sing the song. So that was my first go at singing with these guys. And I got it all on video. I got it on my phone.
Oh, that's great.
So we recorded all that stuff up there. And
I'd love to see that sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
That moment. I mean, I'm a pretty big Sinatra fan. I'm a pretty big big band and jazz fan. I was talking to Miles about it actually the other day. I have a pretty extensive record collection I got from my late grandfather, and most of it's jazz. There's a lot of Sinatra in there. One of the songs that I found a little different, a little bit more of a deep cut, I guess. The Wave that you guys chose to do, and there's a great guitar solo in it, jazzy guitar solo. Did you play that, or did you have one of the guys play that?
No, I'm glad people wonder about that because it's killer guitar playing, but that wasn't me.
Oh, that was interesting. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like he's kind of showing that he has like some of this jazz background too. So you had one of the guys doing that, yeah? I
stuck strictly to vocals on this record.
The whole thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's Dan McIntyre on Wave, and he does some great guitar work in My Way as well.
Yeah, which was an interesting take on My Way as well. I'm glad you brought that up. Like starting out with just the vocal and guitar for what was it, like an entire verse before the rest of the band comes in. I thought was a pretty nice touch.
Yeah, so we sat. That was the very last song we recorded. So it was kind of a bittersweet moment. I can hear it in the recording that this is a life. Such a huge once in a lifetime kind of thing. And this is the last song we were recording. So I was sad, and you could kind of hear it in the song. It was kind of I wanted to keep going with it. So anyways, with that song, I sat there with Dan McIntyre, and I said, let's do this nylon string guitar thing. Let's not bring in the rhythm section until the third verse. Let's just keep adding layers as we go. So I sat there with him, and he kept on comping the song on guitar. I think he did it 3 or 4 different ways, and I was like, "Wow, that way's really cool." So it's so cool to see this jazz guitar player be able to play it so differently, so perfectly right out of the gate. And so that was the first and only song we did on the record that was improvised. We just sat there. There were no charts. It was just, let's play the song, let's have it happen in the moment, and almost like a rock band would do.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And I want to get back to the Wave there because it ties into I think what you're talking about at the beginning, my question of where you found that you could sing this style of music and do it very well. I will say, like I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen to this. So let's see what he's got, kind of thing, and he nailed it. I mean, it sounds phenomenal in that style. One of the things that had me smiling and kind of I wanted to ask you about is that real low note in the wave that you got down.
Yeah.
that was interesting interpretation going down there and doing that. What brought that on?
That's I went deep down the rabbit hole on Frank Sinatra's catalog, and I tried to find every interview and everybody talking about what he's done. And to this day, even years and years after I became obsessed with listening and learning everything I can about Frank Sinatra, you still find new songs constantly, because he recorded 1,500 songs and he was on all these live TV shows where he sang all night long. So you'll never get to the end of what he's done. So I remember reading this interview where somebody was talking about Frank Sinatra's vocal range and how he really loved to dig into his low registers, and they gave examples of A Cottage for Sale, which still a cottage for sale. It's not that low,
right?
Then what Wave? When I heard that, I was like this, and I heard Sirius Sinatra play that song a bunch, and every time I heard that song, I'm like, I can picture Sean Connery with a martini on the beach, 007 style.
Hell
that
yeah.
song is about the hippest, coolest song, I've heard. So I wanted to do that song. We got it into the studio, and we're messing around with maybe taking it up a half step or doing this and that. We're all like, no, we got to do it the way Frank did it. The way that the instruments play in that key sounds way better than a half step up.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it, and I figured I'd record the record, put that song on it, but never do that song live because that note's so hard to hit. But the very first show we did, played that song, and it worked great. I just got to eat the mic to good, because you can't sing that note too loud. So you just got to eat the mic on it.
Wow. That's a great one. Was there a specific mic you were using to in the studio when you're doing this?
Yeah, that's another quest I went on. So Frank Sinatra used U-47s for the most part in his Capitol Records years and all the most well-known songs. And so I tried to buy a U-47, and I was on with Vintage King and everybody trying to find the best U-47s, and I'd get all these warnings about, you could buy a U-47 and it could be terrible. These old capsules and whatnot could be shot, and you could spend $20,000 on a microphone, and it could be, you got to hear it in person. And I was just running out of time. So I found this company called Wonder Audio, WUN, and they had a U-47 that was rated really, really highly by everybody who had heard it. So I bought that. Paul Reed Smith, I had played him Luck Be a Lady, and he got all excited about it. He's like, the best sounding capsule in the world right now, the best, closest U-47 capsule is by Heiserman Audio. So I bought a Heiserman as well, a Heiserman U-47. So then I got to Chicago. I got my Wonder Audio, my Heiserman, and then we rented a vintage U-47 from the local Chicago music. I don't know if it was a music exchange or what, but
okay.
We shot them all out, and everybody in the room was like, I like the Wonder and the Heiserman better than the original. So
really,
so when you listen to the record, one of the songs that really sticks out as the Heiserman kind of tone is if you listen to You Make Me Feel So Young, the crispness and the clarity of that's the Heiserman. The Wonder Audio is the bulk of the record.
Okay.
And I actually used that Wonder Audio U-47 on the Pawns and Kings record for all my vocals.
For all your vocals on the Alter Bridge new record too?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I didn't think that would work at all, because I don't think that type of mic is meant for a pushed aggressive vocal, but it worked great.
That's incredible. Wow.